you still will experience pain. Like you could live the most safest life possible, never going anywhere, never putting yourself out there, never seeing people because you don't want to be hurt, always in the house. But guess what? You'll experience a different type of pain. You'll experience loneliness. You will be isolated. And guess what else? And I think this is probably the worst pain. Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm Charlita. For those of you that are new and for those of you that are returning, welcome back. So I wanted to talk about fear. And many of us, I would say, from time to time, we suffer from being afraid to do something or afraid to put ourselves out there. But sometimes fear can actually go deeper than that, and it can literally cause you to not live at all. And what I mean by that is it will cause you to almost be paralyzed. There was a story on I think it was Hulu or HBO Max, I'm not really sure, but it was basically about this lady. I think the name of the movie or series rather was How to Die Alone. And basically this lady was afraid to try anything. She didn't have any friends. She stayed in the house all the time. And she just really was not living a very fulfilled life. And I think that a lot of times, many of us are living our fears and not living our dreams. And it could be that, we either suffered a heartbreak in the past. And so sometimes, you're afraid to love again after going through a heartbreak. Sometimes you are living in fear because maybe at some point in life, someone told you that you couldn't do anything because X, Y, and Z would happen. Maybe it was a parent and you're living under their limitations that they set out for you, but you're really just not living for yourself and you're not living your life. And the problem with that is, and with fear itself, is that it can actually, these scenarios that you create in your mind can actually appear so real to you that it will just prevent you from making any type of decision and prevent you from living a life that is fulfilling. And it will cause you to feel like you are in stagnant waters. And sometimes it can even cause you to be almost so indecisive when it is coming to make a decision, because you don't have any confidence in yourself that you can make the right decision because you are just so fearful. And there's this expression that fear is false evidence appearing real. And when I think about that, I often think about how there are a lot of times with fear, there really isn't any evidence at all that anything is going to go wrong. But because in our minds, we have created these scenarios in our minds of something going wrong. And because it appears so real to us, because our minds have created all of these different scenarios, that we start to believe it. And sometimes we don't even know what we're even afraid of anymore. And I think about it because there was something that I had been putting off for really 2 years, I would say, 2 years. And the longer I put this thing off, the more and more false evidence I had in my mind of why I couldn't do this thing. And it just got harder and harder. And it took 2 years for me to just say, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and try. And when I think about it, this whole entire channel really has been about me facing my fears. Even just starting this channel itself has been about me facing my fears. I know For the longest time, I had wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I was afraid to put myself out there. Why? One, I was afraid of failing. Two, I was afraid of just how people would react to me, because people do from time to time, they may say something derogatory. But honestly, even though that has happened occasionally where people have said something, but because I faced those fears and I realized, nothing really happened to me, because it's just a stranger in the comment section saying something. And I realized, okay, they don't really know me. So that mean comment really says more. It says something more so about them than it does me. It really doesn't have any reflection on me. So sometimes, even if you do something, and let's say what you have created in your mind really does happen, once you actually face that and you realize nothing really happened to me, you just realize, I've been not doing this thing. I basically just wasted my time by continuing to put this off. So, and even like if you're just holding yourself back because you're afraid of, for example, of being hurt, here's the reality. Even just by sitting on the sidelines or sitting in the crowds, being just a spectator, you still will experience pain. Like, you could live the most safest life possible, never going anywhere, never putting yourself out there, never seeing people because you don't want to be hurt, always in the house. But guess what? You'll experience a different type of pain. You'll experience loneliness. You will be isolated. And guess what else? And I think this is probably the worst pain, the pain of regret, the pain of knowing that you could have done more and knowing that you should have done more, but you didn't. And I think that probably is the worst type of pain. So really, there's no way to really avoid pain. It's just no way of getting around it. So I feel like we should just be active participants in our life and just live. I mean, that's kind of the whole entire experience of living, is feeling pain. I think we're constantly trying to avoid pain, but when you really think about it, unfortunately, that's just kind of part of life. But here's the thing. Pain is temporary, and it's not like it's going to last forever. And also too, the other fear, I think the reason why we don't try things is the fear of failure. And here's the other thing about failure. If you're not I think it was Denzel Washington one time that said in a speech, if you're not failing, then you're basically you're not trying. And that makes perfect sense, because that's the only way. And sometimes you have to fail at something to get better at it. Sometimes you have to fail at something so that maybe you can say, okay, you know what? I need to go in a different direction. So I think that you have to look at things from a different perspective. And more than anything, I think that's something that has kind of helped me when there's something that I'm afraid of doing. And this is something that I've been doing recently. I have to say to myself, okay, what is the worst possible case scenario that could happen? What's the worst possible thing that could go wrong? And once I think about that, and I say, okay, so this is the worst possible case scenario that could happen, and I know that could go wrong, that kind of helps me to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. Because now I already know, right? That's the worst possible case scenario that could happen. And sometimes even just doing that, sometimes will give you the courage to just do something. And sometimes the other thing can happen. You can just realize, you know what? I don't even know why I'm afraid. Because that's the other thing that I've also found, that sometimes we don't even know what we're even afraid of, but we have just imagined in our head for so long of something going. So I'm going to close this video off here. I just think that we owe it to ourselves to face our fears. Let's make this year the year that we live our lives fearlessly, and that all of those things that are on our list that we have been putting off, let's make those things happen this year. Just take the chance and imagine the worst case scenario that could possibly happen, and you may find that there really isn't anything to be afraid of at all. And more importantly, when you face your fears, you experience growth. So I hope this was helpful to you, and if it is, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.